So, how are you?
I am well. As I shared, it's Friday, and so it's been a busy week, but overall, I'm well.
Okay, great. Well, welcome to our second installment of our Faith Ministries Black Studies Task Force, African American First. Today, we have with us a very accomplished African American woman for Women's History Month, the first African American police chief for the Ohio State University, Sister Kimberly Spears McNatt, who is currently the Associate Vice President of Public Safety. So, welcome, Sister Spears McNatt. And we're just going to jump in here for the sake of time. And as we did with our first guest, Dr. Ned Pettis, the former fire chief, and first African American to be the fire chief here in Columbus, Ohio, whom the Fire Academy is named after. We will have a shorter presentation for our church lobby, and then we'll have a longer presentation that people can tune into at a later time. So we're just going to jump in right here. And if you could share with us, where are you actually from and where did you grow up?
So I was born and raised in Akron, Ohio. That is also where I grew up until I came to Columbus, Ohio, to attend college at the Ohio State University.
Yes, the Ohio State University. Everyone got that THE there, which is my alma mater as well. So we know a bunch of good people have come from there, right through there. So, what led you into law enforcement?
So what led me into law enforcement is so my senior year after we had graduated, my best friend, her name is Kathy Johnson. Her and I were both working at traffic and parking on Ohio State campus. And just like everyone who graduated, we were also looking for jobs. And so during the time, traffic and parking was responsible for managing citations, decals. And so oftentimes when people came to see us, they probably were not very happy. And so that's where we really learned customer service skills. And so during that time, there was an officer who worked for OSU PD. His name was Officer Scott Tipton, and a part of his daily patrols was coming over to check on us at traffic and parking because most likely when someone had to pay some money to get their car from being impounded, they were most likely not very happy. And so during his times, he would come over and check on us. He would often try to recruit us and say, have you ever thought about a career in law enforcement? And myself and my best friend Kathy, neither one of us had a law enforcement background. And all we saw at the time was we saw on TV. It was like, Charlie Angels or whatnot. And it was like, no, I don't think that's where we want to go, right? And so I'll never forget it. It was a Friday, and he had stopped by and was asking us about it. And it was a Friday we had got our paychecks, and we were looking at our paychecks and was like, we got to figure something out. We both got college degrees. This is just not it. And so he started talking to us about, going to the police academy and, Ohio State paying for, graduate school and, all the benefits and everything. And so he had said 401k. We thought he said $400. And I was like, where do we sign up at? And so that is how I got into law enforcement. I will tell you now that I retired, the 401k means a lot. So I'm glad I listened, but that is exactly how we stumbled into law enforcement. My best friend and I both went to the academy together. She's from Dayton, Ohio. And so you basically had two city girls down in the country at a police academy who never held weapons, never did defensive driving, defensive tactics. And so for us, it became, a milestone each time we accomplished something like we're not supposed to be here. And so it was just me and her together. And so we started and we finished and graduated the academy together against all odds, but we did it.
Yes, yes, indeed. And did it, you did. So, along your journey to being police chief, what would you say are some of the biggest obstacles you had to face along the way, not only as a woman, but also as an African American woman in particular?
I would say in the profession, it's not a lot of women in the law enforcement profession. And so as I moved up through the ranks, getting comfortable being the only woman in the room, and then making sure that, I had a voice at the table. And really, I looked at those as opportunities for me to be able to start connecting, networking, making sure, I'm learning, I guess you could say the rules of the game, and making sure that I'm actually leaving the doors open for other people that came behind me. But oftentimes, I found myself as being the only one in the room.
Yeah. And in the midst of that, can you cite some specific examples of things that you ran up against in that sort of environment?
Right. So I think in those environments, because basically it's being like there's very few women that get into law enforcement. And so a lot of times there's things that's already been predetermined, just understanding the culture. And so when you're bringing different ideals or views or values in the room, then it's like, okay, it makes people think about something else. Like just because we've always done it this way does not mean we have to continue to do it this way, right? And so sometimes you'll have people who are willing to be open to new ideals, and then you'll have some people who are just maybe because they've always done it that way and that's what they're comfortable with. But I would say that also taught me the importance of resilience, confidence, and why representation matters.
Mhm. Yes. And in light of all the things that you have been able to accomplish and getting to the point to where you are now, where do you see yourself going from here, and what sort of changes would you like to see in the law enforcement arena, just overall?
So right now I live in South Carolina and I come back to Ohio often. Me and my husband live in South Carolina. We come back to Ohio often. And I serve as Associate Vice President for Public Safety for Clemson University. And so what I would like to see with law enforcement is that it's a noble profession, but really more accountability, often in transparency, because that's where we lose trust of the community, where things are not clearly explained. And then it's left to fill in the details. And so making sure that we hire the right people to do this job in this profession because they have a lot of authority. They have the authority to take someone's freedom and potentially someone's life, right? And so who you're hiring and being able to say, you're not fit for this job and being able to make that separation really quick because there's a lot of good officers in the world, but often, unfortunately, when something happens, we all get lumped together. But I would really like to see that change where it allows leadership, management to be able to say, this person has done this enough times that we should not continue to hire them back because it really does hurt the profession. And there's a lot of good officers throughout the country that, do the right things for the right reason, but it only takes one of us to do something and then we're all impacted by it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know that there are a lot of great opportunities for changing things from the inside. What would you say to some of our young people that are seeking a career in law enforcement, or perhaps even if they're not at this moment? What sort of things might you share with them?
I would share that if that is their desire, never let anyone turn your sky into a ceiling. And then also, as in law enforcement, you're held to higher standards. And so there are certain things as you start to progress through your life that you may not always get a second chance, right? And so making sure that the people that you hang out with, I always say, you show me your friends, I'll show you your future, that you have to think long term and not just in the moment. And if you're thinking about a law enforcement profession, don't limit your opportunities. It could take you to a federal level. There's so many different things that you can do from, investigations, crimes. It's just, there's a plethora of other professions that you can get into. So don't limit yourself, but as you continue to grow, be very selective about the decisions that you make, because there's some things that you don't get to do over and you will be held accountable for.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that that's very important because I think a lot of our youth, they only see police officers on the street and think that that's as far as that goes without realizing that there is, as you say, a plethora of opportunities, in law enforcement. And they can also have their education paid for, as Dr. Pettis shared last week, that he was able to go all the way up to having a PhD and having all of that paid for, where these days you can graduate and be in such tremendous debt and still be paying for that for years to come. So yeah, I think that's a major piece right there in the puzzle, and being able to work from the inside out as you've done.
I would definitely encourage that, because my time in college, although I had a scholarship, when the tuition went up, my scholarship didn't go up. And so I basically wind up working three jobs. I
Mhm.
worked at the Kroger's at 7th and High. I worked at Traffic and Parking. And I also did an internship for Judge Rick Pfeiffer. So I graduated in 4 years. I graduated with no student loans and zero debt, but I had very little or zero social life. And so if you can get someone to help cover or pay for your tuition, definitely encourage them to do that.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Yes. Now, as you look back over your career, um, are there any incidents that stood out in law enforcement anywhere along your journey? If it was like just a one-to-one situation as you're moving up the ladder, your interaction with people in the community on the Ohio State campus, whatever the case may be that you might want to share with us.
So I have to start with my grandmother played a huge part in me growing up. I am the granddaughter of Lily Bell Hawkins.
Mm,
It's my grandmother in 2023, and she never sugarcoated anything, and so reminded me, to always stay humble and how you treat people matter. And so I say that is, as I mentioned, that working at Kroger's, everybody has to eat at some point, right? And so that was my a firsthand experience of dealing with people from all walks of life that came through the grocery store. Some people that you thought may have been wealthy were not. Some people who, had maybe been in a crisis. So it really taught you to be humble and just never judge people by their appearance or their situation. So at the time while I was working there was a gentleman, his name was Jeff Clark. And Jeff would always come through. He was very popular, known up and down High Street. I mean, he always had a tan jacket and some pants, and he would come in and talk and everything. And he was just a friendly guy. And so while I was going through the police academy, stopped working at Kroger's and went to the police academy. And so I'll never forget my first encounter on High Street, where me and my coach had stopped the individual, and Jeff Clark just happened to be walking by, and he was like, hey, I know you, you're the Kroger lady. They didn't gave the Kroger lady a gun. And I was just like, Jeff, no. But it was just that, even in that time that he remembered me and felt comfortable talking to me. And even, my time at Ohio State, I was there for 30 years. I would still see Jeff, and he would always remind me, like, they gave the Kroger lady a gun. And I was like, yes, Jeff, they did. They gave the Kroger lady a gun. And so, really, how you treat people, never forget where you came from and who helped you get there. Some of the things that stood out for me. I would say the
yeah.
other thing that, as I progressed through my career, is that I've been very fortunate to have a lot of mentors, male and female. And there's oftentimes support system for my family. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, but also times where I may have doubt. My sans, W. Shauna Gibbs Ayers, is always the one in my ear saying, move forward, or I'm thinking I can't. And she'll always remind me, why not you? And so it's those type of things that are like, okay, encouragement and, my faith and my support system is the things that help me move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what would you say are some of the greatest accomplishments that you've had while being at the Ohio State University and the role that you played as police chief over those years?
So I will say my greatest accomplishment was the things that I wanted to do. One was to make sure that the agency obtained advanced accreditation before I left, and I was able to do that. My team at Ohio State was some all-stars. I wanted to make sure that they were ready to lead, and before I left, my entire team was cross-trained and was able to lead. The last thing that I'm very proud of was that before I left, that our agency was the most diverse that had ever been in the history. And I'm not just talking about race, I'm talking about age, I'm talking about beliefs, I'm talking about religion. And why that was so great because it basically represented what Ohio State was, that on any given
Mm,
day we had 100,000 people on our campus. And at the time when I left, our police department reflected that. And so
mm,
the most diverse it ever been. And so I was super
mm,
excited about that.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, can you tell us what are some of your responsibilities where you are now in the capacity that you're working?
Yeah. So currently, as a chair, I serve as Associate Vice President for Public Safety. In this role, I'm responsible for the police department, the fire department, emergency management, and it's called Tiger One, but it's really physical security. And so all those departments now report up to me, and we work together collectively to make sure that we're providing a safe campus for Clemson University.
Mm, yes, yeah. Now, do you have any further goals beyond here? Because you've so many, broken through so many ceilings, it seems like at this point. Where does someone like you go from here?
So at this point, my goal is to never forget where I come from and make sure that I'm opening doors and opportunities for people that come behind me.
Amen. Amen. And lastly, what role overall would you say that your faith plays in all of this?
It's it's why I can do the things that I do. From my grandmother to every day. And even in South Carolina, I always tell Dr. Wise that please don't discontinue the online service because I'm the one who's logging in on Sundays for South Carolina. People ask me like, haven't you joined the church down there? And I was like, no, Faith Ministry is my church. I'm going home. And so that right there, just being able to see everybody on Sunday and hear his voice and hear the choir, it keeps me grounded and just know that although I'm here, my family is still at Faith Ministry in Ohio.
Yes. Yes. Well, we are very happy to have you a part of that family. And we thank you for joining us here today as one of Faith Ministry's African American firsts that have contributed tremendously to our community. So God bless you, sister. And thank you all for tuning in as we continue to move forward with our Black Studies Task Force here at Faith Ministries Church. God bless you. Thank you, sister.
Thank you so much.